Do me a favor, yeah? Look at these logos. And now look at these ones. These are the same brands, but their personality and identity have been washed away due to oversimplification. The trend of flat design over the past 10 plus years has diluted the uniqueness of brands to the point where it feels like every brand is using the same sans serif font and visual identity. Flat design, however, isn't the problem. It's been a key factor in enabling brands to become more accessible and allowing processes like scaling their brand and printing brand materials to become more efficient and cost effective. It's the idea that brands should be so strictly beholden to the philosophy of flat design that it becomes crossed over with simplification. So many brands believe that flat design means that their brand identity should be simple, and it's this mindset that kills the appeal of the brand and attracts the backlash that we see online with many rebrands in recent years. So I'm here to demystify the idea that flat design equates to boring, highlighting key brands that use flat design to their advantage to elevate their brand in fun and interesting ways, while criticizing brands that have maybe pushed flat design that little bit too far. Let's go! So starting with our first flat design no-no, we have Google. Now honestly, this could have been any tech giant company, but I think Google really sticks in my mind. Oh my god, where do we start? Let's begin with Google's old brand identity, especially the logo with the sans serif font. It really felt like you were on the front page of a book, you know, because Google used to be the front page of the internet. And it used the different primary colours almost like a rainbow, signifying that you could find literally anything you wanted. But now for their logo, they use Google Sans, which is their own sans serif font, which is fine, you know, you have to change with the times. But already you can see that just by switching to the sans serif font over the original serif font, they've already lost a lot of personality with their brand. But as the brand has expanded over the past 10 years, they've really went big on this push for homogenization, which has simplified down their brand identity quite a lot. I think the biggest factor of this homogenization that I'd like to talk about is their suite of app icons. A couple of years ago, they were really leaning into that skeuomorphic design with an actual letter for mail, a calendar for the calendar, and also a map for Google Maps. But even though they were leaning into skeuomorphism, they still had their brand colors and their brand style embedded within these icons. Fast forward to now, they're using extremely simple iconography made out of blocks of color using their primary brand colors. And that's about it as far as detail goes for these icons. I think the biggest offender in the Google icon suite would have to be Google Drive. You could not convince me that someone would know what Google Drive is and what it does just based off this icon. Personally, I think Google have the least accessible set of icons that are associated with their apps, especially in this fast-paced world where even the older generation are being forced to go digital. I really think for as global and as well known that Google are, they really need to lean more into skeuomorphism so that everyone on the planet, even the older generation, can understand what their apps do just by looking at the icons. Now, I'm not saying that they should go back to being full skeuomorphic, even though we are seeing small waves of that coming back in the past few years, but just design the icons in a way where it alleviates a little bit more cognitive dissonance. But I will give Google credit where it's due. They are starting to add gradients into their logo and into their iconography. Not that that's going to make people understand the icons any more than they already do, but at least it's a step towards a more unique brand identity. Next up, we've got Duolingo. Now, admittedly, the Duolingo logo is one of the flattest logos out there, especially with the sans serif typeface. But if you dive a bit deeper into the brand, you've got their mascot, Duo, who, as we all know too well, will not leave you alone if you do not do your lessons. Duo is designed really well. He's fun, cute, energetic, and perfect for the Duolingo brand. That's of course when he's not berating you for being lazy. The designers at Duolingo have also brought Duo to life using parallax animation, allowing Duo to appear in all sorts of expressive and emotive situations, really making the end user feel motivated and excited to learn a new language. But it's not just Duo that they've done this for. They've animated a wide range of diverse and unique characters that really represents the array of language courses that they offer. But it goes far beyond the design of the mascots as well. Everything from the icons that represent the courses to the sizzling fireball that you get when you've started a new streak. Everything about this brand is oozing with personality. And I think this style of playful parallax animation has been all the more accessible because of the way it's designed. If Duo and all the other characters had tons and tons of detail, it would be a nightmare to animate. So because of this, they've really done a smashing job using flat design to their advantage. Even though they've had that AI controversy recently, but that is a different story. So the next one I would like to talk about is IKEA. We all know them, they're the Swedish flat pack furniture brand that have been a household name for as long as we all can remember. Now I would start by critiquing the logo, but I think they're at that point that Coca-Cola is at, where if the logo was changed at all in the slightest, people would just be unhappy, so I think it is just best to leave that where it is. But if we look at the wider brand, there seriously is just like a whole lot of nothing.
Clock that T. Clock that T. Clock it. Clock that T.
I don't know what you think about when you think about IKEA, but for me and my friends especially, it's like a full day out. You go to IKEA and you wander all the way around the store and you're always in awe of what you see. And you're always thinking in your head as you go around like, oh yeah, I want that, that's so cool, or oh yeah, I'll pick that up. Like it's so fun and exciting to go to IKEA, like you can even get meatballs and hot dogs at the end, like what's not to love? But the brand really doesn't reflect this and I'm so confused as to why it doesn't. Like it would be so cool and fun to see bright illustrations of people carrying boxes or sitting down to eat hot dogs, something along those lines. And this would really work for them since you are forced to wander around the store to get to the exit, so it does feel like a big event. If we take a look at the website, there's a lot of photography, but also just a lot of squares for the calls to action. There's nothing here that makes me really excited to want to go to IKEA. And I think to fix this, they should really lean into that neo-brutalism trend that has been creeping up over the past few years. I feel like it would be perfect for IKEA's brand, and it would give them the boost in personality that they so desperately need. Next up, I'd like to talk about Oatly. This is the second Swedish brand on this list. It might look like I've got an affinity for Swedish brands, but this is just a coincidence, I promise. So they aim to give their consumers healthy alternate milk choices while also combating the impact that the dairy industry has on the planet. I've only ever seen Oatly on supermarket shelves and I've always thought that they had a fun brand identity. But after doing research for this video, I found that they incorporate a lot more alternate elements into their designs, which obviously makes sense because they're an alternate milk company. If we take a look at Oatly's website, you can see that they incorporate a lot of texture and noise in their design, while still sticking true to that flat design philosophy. You can see that they've went in a very brutalist direction with all of the drop shadows on the cards. And I love this checkerboard pattern that they've got in the backdrop of their header. And all the fonts they use are a bit rough and rugged and they've got a little bit of texture to them. Even the graphics on the website have this distressed feel to them, which I feel is perfect for their rebellious message. The cover in this brand really makes me want to switch to oatmeal, which is something I never thought I'd even say. Overall, Oatly does a fantastic job of pushing their brand message with their visuals while still sticking true to a flat design philosophy. Fantastic job. Okay, so next up we have Uber, which is quite possibly the worst offender on this list. Their branding is literally so flat and so minimal that it might as well be a tech company.
No, it's true. It's true.
Their logo is literally just a sans serif font, and for their main brand, they don't even use any color, they just use black and white. This is a top example of how brands push flat design so far that they lose all sense of personality and identity. Now, I know that they're supposed to be a high-end taxi company, but there are so many other ways to show this than just being plain and simple. You know, when you get into an Uber, you're going somewhere exciting, right? Whether that's like a night out, or you're going for something to eat, or you're going to hang out with your friends. They could really tap into that and make their brand more exciting while still keeping that sense of luxury. I've been smiling all throughout this segment because I cannot believe how bland and dull this brand actually is. And I didn't even realize it until researching for this video. I'll tell you what though, the dull design of the app makes it really easy to order a taxi when you're drunk after a night out.
Yeah, boy.
Now we move on to Liquid Death. So in case you haven't heard about these guys, they are a water brand that take imagery from rock and metalhead culture. So think skulls, scythes, birds of prey, to make people feel like they're drinking alcohol when in reality it's just water. Which is extremely clever in my opinion. Their extremely detailed illustrations really carry the brand identity and push the limits of what flat design can be, while totally avoiding being simple. Who knew? Even their logo is just absolutely sick. It feels like it should be more for a rock band than for a water company. The very concept of making people buy water through this sick branding is just marketing genius. And people literally still buy it. Like, although they've expanded their range of products in the past few years, they actually just started out selling mountain water, which is hilarious to me. Proof that people will buy anything if it's branded and marketed correctly. Which, in the case of Liquid Death, they are very much hitting that nail on the head. And these guys definitely know what they're doing because they say as much on their website. Soon, Liquid Death will use health and humor to conquer the world and make all beverages liquid death for eternity. At which point, we'll finally begin turning the human race into flesh batteries to power our giant marketing robots. Ha! They are playing everyone and they damn well know it. And on to the final brand I'd like to talk about today, we have Pizza Pilgrims. They are a pizzeria chain based in the UK that really try and push the pizza experience to the max. These guys' branding is literally my biggest source of inspiration as a brand designer. If we take a look at their website, the design is very flat, but they have a lot of interactive elements. Button hover animations, angled scrolling banners, and even hand-drawn illustrations that contrast with the whole brand identity. On some pages, you can even see an animated pizza van drive across your screen, which I think is so cool. Even the small details like the horizontal line texture in the background go a long way. It's very clear that a lot of care and attention has been put into this brand, and it really shows. It really makes you feel like you're having a unique pizzeria experience. They are the perfect example of using flat design but taking a maximalist approach, and it works perfectly. Guys, I could talk about Pizza Pilgrims all day, but I'm gonna have to stop myself. So there we have it, guys. Those are some of the brands that I think are using flat design the best and the worst right now. I think the main thing that brands need to realize is that they can still showcase their brand with flat design while avoiding simplicity. Throw some animations in there, throw some illustrations in there, it'll elevate your brand identity so much. And I don't think you're really limited by the sector you're in either. Of course, the brand visuals and feel will be different for every sector, but that doesn't mean you should be content with having a static and boring brand identity.
Look how she ate that.
Personally, I would love to see a high-end fashion brand like Gucci play around with animation or maybe texture or lighting in their brand assets. Something like that really hasn't even been done before. So you know, Gucci, if you would like to make a statement, you know what to do. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this week's video. If you enjoy the content, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as it truly does help me out. If you would like to check out some of my other videos, you can see them on screen now. And starting this week and going forward, you can buy me a coffee on Ko-Fi, the link is in the description. Please do not feel obliged to do this in any way, but the money raised from the Ko-Fi page will go back into this channel and will really help me. But that is all for this week's video, so I will see you in the next one. Bye!